So in a video where I talked about black people should be open to leaving America and going to places like Africa or other countries that are ran by black people to escape a lot of the pressure and oppression that we face here in America, this comment came up, and this type of comment comes up often when I talk about that subject. He said, user said, bro, Dan Calloway has proven that the so-called African American isn't African and is Aboriginal, Indigenous, Melanated, Native American. Okay, he hasn't proven that every black person who is in America is a Native American. That's a very finite term. You cannot prove that when we found not just the Cotita, which was one of the last slave trade ships that came to America, but they found off the coast of Africa other slave ships that crossed the Atlantic. You can't claim that when the writers of DeSoto, Columbus's uncle, his brother, wrote that when they got here, that they were told that the people here had already been trading with Africans, and that Africans were already staying here. When we know that Mansa Musa's son traveled to the Americas, he just didn't come back. Okay, so every black person is not from there. We know the slave trade happened. Now, were the native people who were here dark-skinned people, melanated people? Yes, I will agree. But I've done my family history and it's still doing my family history. I know that my father's family came by slave ship from Senegal up to England and then across to the Americas. I'm in the process of tracking my mother's side of the family. And guess what? I found some of it is already involved in the transatlantic slave trade. You're going to say those are falsified documents of the Europeans, but all your documents and all his documents are from Europeans as well. So you can't say one is justified and the other is not. But here's my bigger thing. This is kind of like with the Hebrew Israelites. What are you going to do? What's the practical application? You see, when I talk about esoteric things, when I talk about what black people need to do in order to have the police stop shooting at them and killing them, or what we need to do to have better services in hospitals and not be treated poorly because they think we can endure pain and our suffering is less than white people. When I talk about the fact that economically we have to develop ourselves in order to control our own territories, you knowing that that does not help. And the thing about it, if we're going to fight over it, if that's going to be our fight, then that's just another system of division that keeps and oppress people down. And if that's the goal, I don't know, because I don't know Dan Calloway personally. I don't know what his plans are. Maybe he is planning to get a bunch of people and they open up a county or something like that and take over a county and establish their own city. It may be his plan, but I haven't seen it. I haven't heard him say it. But what's the practical app, my man? Because all I talk about is what the practical app of something is.